Welcome to episode 38 of Out of Bounds on the Boomer Bust channel, a podcast where I give my social commentary on different topics in today's society. I'm your host, Terry, and today we are talking about the events that occurred in D.C. at the Capitol building, in which rioters stormed the Capitol building in attempts to, halt the proceedings where they were certifying the electoral votes for the past election in which Joe Biden won. And so, there's a lot to talk about. There's a whole lot going on with people and everything, and a lot of opinions, a lot of feelings, and all those different things. But I gotta start off top by saying I didn't really care that much. I really didn't. I know not everybody, a lot of people are reacting very strongly. And they have, mixed emotions between fear and anger and all that. And some people are really calling this a, disturbing and very important red flag in our country. And to me, I shrug my shoulders, to be honest with you. Not to say that it was okay. Obviously not. It's illegal. Not to say that it's cool or I support or anything. But to me, it isn't this death knell that everybody's talking about, because we've been here before. We've been here so many times. The thing that bothers me, which is kind of separate, but I'll start here first. The reason I say it's not that big of a deal is because they ran into a building. Okay. All right. Whatever. They ran into a building, and they took some stuff. They looted some stuff, took some pictures, and they slowed down the proceedings, or I should say they postponed it. But did they change the election? No. Did they change our democracy and how we are going to certify? No. Did they take over? Is the president no longer in charge? No. They didn't do any of those things. They were in the moment doing something physically to represent their frustrations that in turn won't have that long of lasting impact. And honestly, not to completely equate the two, but I do feel similar to how I do with looting in situations of other protests and riots. Yes, it's sending a message that's supposed to be symbolic, but it's not actually going to do anything. Looting a Target is not going to end racism. Looting or running into a Capitol building or any building is not going to completely destroy democracy and make this a dictatorship. It's not going to happen. And so, was I overcome with any issue? No. Now, obviously, again, that's the symbol of it. There's the message behind it. But at the end of the day, the material impact is that nothing changed. They still certified the election, and we're going forward. And not only that, but Trump conceded publicly finally, and we're going forward. If anything, this further or accelerated the end of their cause, where they were supporting Trump and all this. This further buried it and made it even quicker. Because had nothing happened, had you had a regular rally and people went home, Trump would probably just keep stirring the pot until Inauguration Day. But since all of this happened and everybody has such strong reactions, now Trump is forced to, show his hand a little bit. And so, to me, it just wasn't that big of a deal. Materially, I'm talking about the actual material results of it. I'm just like, okay, all right. People are frustrated, or people are ignorant, or they're hyped, or they're scared, or whatever it is, and it caused them to react this way. It's over, and we're going to move on. Like, it's not some type of, mark that is going to turn the tide of anything. I think that it was an expression, a demonstration, and that's what it is. And now it's over with. Now, to say why it frustrates me is because, I have to listen to all these people talk about how scared they are, how horrified they were, how disturbing it is. And I'm like, you are so moved, about something that you're not even near. You're not anywhere, most of us aren't anywhere near. You're looking at pictures on a phone or a TV or a computer. You're looking at it at a screen, and listening to people about how hurt they are and how much of their mental health is affected. And it's like, how can you simultaneously become a victim? How can you simultaneously co-opt someone else's problem while it's happening? I'm like, what about those people that have to respond to those rioters? What about those people in there that possibly had their life threatened or felt that their life was threatened? What about kids that were out there that didn't need to be? What about the people that came out there that didn't want to incite violence? They just want to support Trump. Like, those are real problems. But we are so removed in 2020 around the world, mostly here in America, that we are able to just play the victim no matter what is going on. And it's like, how does this revolve around me? And not to dismiss mental health awareness and all that stuff is important to know about, but that doesn't give you license to then just jump on people's buses. It's the same equivalent that we always talk about when we say Black Lives Matter and then somebody says all lives matter. Or if we say we want to raise breast cancer awareness and somebody says, well, what about autism awareness? Or what about throat cancer awareness? Like, that's not the conversation we're having right now. So always trying to turn it into your own struggle. Me too. Or like, we've been oppressed as black people in America. Well, I'm a white gay person. I'm oppressed too. I know exactly. No, that's not what we're asking for. We're not looking for people to jump on people's struggle. And it bothers me not only because people are jumping on this and making it about them, but it bothers me because how could you be so shocked and disgusted, like watching from afar, like some oppression zoo, about a building. Again, a building. People running into a building. I don't care that it's the Capitol building. Whatever building it is, people running into a building. And you are more moved by that than what's happening outside in your own neighborhood, in your own community, in your own streets. Because everywhere we have an education gap where people aren't getting equal education. Everywhere during the pandemic, we have small businesses that are being closed down that aren't getting the support they need. Everywhere we have abuse and predators against children in our education system, in our adoption system. We have abusive parents. We have predatory financial institutions trying to put people further in debt while denying them equity. We have so much going on every day, but a lot of people have to take it in doses. I got to wait for my moment to be appalled, and I got to tell everybody how appalled I was so that they know that I'm a good person, that I have high morals. And it just bothers me that you could be so up in arms about this, but every other day in your life, we're just quiet about the actual atrocities that happen every single day. Like, yes, they ran in a Capitol building. I seen people run into apartment buildings. I seen people run into people's houses and kill people that didn't need to die or were innocent and should never have died and not even face any consequence for it. I've seen fathers taken from their family, mothers taken from their family, children taken from their family. And what it gets to me is that the people that get so up in arms about it and talked about how horrified they are, I'm like, you haven't actually seen any real horror in your life. Because there's stuff that I lived through, stuff that I know other people live through, stuff that I've seen secondhand that what does that mean to me? But that's the privilege people have to sit there and to sit in their own feelings and be so disturbed by the riots at the Capitol building and can't be disturbed by what's going on with humans around them. So that's my whole little soapbox about that part. But deeper than that, what does it all mean? Like I said, materially, you didn't affect or do anything. They still continued, even if they weren't going to continue that night, which I'm surprised they did. They would have just continued a different day. They would have did it via Zoom or a different location. Like, it was going to happen. It was going to get done. And so some of the fears, which if you really feel this, then I understand. But some of the fears is that people are like, well, this is going to be a war. This is going to cause a war. And to me, I'm just like, no, I don't think so at all. Like, I mean, if it happens, okay, I say I was wrong, but I don't think that size group of people, even if you doubled it and said this many people are looking for a war, that's not enough to do anything against the United States Army, which is massive. And so I same thing like yesterday, like people are like, I'm so disturbed. Like, they weren't going to do anything. Now, because the thing is, if they went in there, first of all, there's nothing you could do. The only thing you really could do is bodily injure or kill somebody that's a part of the government. Now, if that happened, then bodies would have started dropping. Like, does anybody believe that they could go in there, physically harm members of the Congress and just walk out? No, it wasn't going to happen. And even if it did happen, they would be done. And so what is this war we're talking about? What is this civil war? Again, I understand there's more people that think like them, but again, even if you tripled it, it's not about to be a war. That's not going to happen. It's not, we're not going to have yesterday turn into some giant, like people kept calling it an insurrection, a revolution, and all this other stuff. I'm like, are we being serious right now? Those people, don't speak for the people. That's not the people marching to the Capitol like they used to do in holding people accountable. Those are zealots and fanatics of a person who has misused their platform. And that's no more, no less. And so again, any one person can cause damage because you hurt one person, that's damage, but they're not going to cause damage on a national level. I'm not sure why these narratives started sparking up yesterday about how this was the beginning of the end and all of this other stuff. I'm like, who do y'all think was in there? Like, this wasn't Zod and some superheroes. Like, this was just regular old people, and they would get handled like regular old people had push come to shove. Now, the other side of why a lot of people are upset is exactly that, how it was handled. And for this part, I don't move that much either, because we've seen this over and over again. And I'm not really trying to say this is fact, but I would just venture to say most of the people really shook up by yesterday aren't minorities, aren't people of oppressed populations. Because if you were to look at yesterday and have the thought like, wow, they really don't treat them the same, then I can't believe that you grew up through any type of adversity that a minority would actually grow up through. Not a minority, but most minorities. Because that's nothing new. That's something we see every day. I mean, I don't see how this is any different than ex-cop killed X person and caught on video. Like, we've seen this so many times. The same thing I've said when we've had to talk about George Floyd and other things is that the sad part is that it's not new. It's not shocking. It's the same old, same old. And that's what yesterday was. Yes, there's talk of two Americas. Yes, there's talk about how different people are treated. Yes, there's talk about, having that visual example, but we've had those visual examples, whether personal or on national stage. We've seen it. If you want to find that, you can see so much of it. We know that it's a different playing field. And so a lot of people that don't know that, or didn't believe it, or kind of believed it and needed a visual. I mean, where were you during George Floyd? Where were you with Breonna Taylor? Where were you with Philando Castile? There's so many to go around. We've seen this. Matter of fact, this isn't the first time they ran up on a Capitol building, and they did it before with automatic rifles. And so we've seen this before. We know it's going to be treated differently. And so, to me, that didn't move me a whole lot. I didn't see anything that I didn't expect to happen. And so, it's never fun to realize that or to see it. But at the same time, for those that are saying this is historic and this is unprecedented and this is such a monumental moment, I don't agree. I don't agree. For me personally, and again, it might be for somebody that has had the privilege not to walk through those lines or all those things. But for me personally, it's not monumental. It's another day. And unfortunate as that is, that's how our country operates. So now going forward, there's so many talks, and it is interesting to see, and it might be a function of how close we are until inauguration, but it's interesting to see a lot of people jump off the Trump bandwagon, whether it be, some of the people on his staff resigning, saying that they can't be a part of it. You had some people that was saying they was planning on challenging electoral votes, but after the whole riot, they said they couldn't do it no more. And it's like, so that riot had nothing to do with the facts. So either you already knew that you was going in there lying and you was just doing it because you were part of the Republican Party, or I don't know. I don't see the other issue, because nothing about the riot showed you the facts of how the votes went. And so you start to really have people either, either trying to get out on the better side of this, or they really had to cross that line of morality and say, can I continue out of good conscience, good faith to do this? Despite the consequences. And so it's one of those two, and it's interesting to see, because Trump has pushed a lot of people out, and he's doing, which I do think some of the stuff he does is an act. I think he placates to, the base, to his base, so that they can support him strongly. But, a lot of things about him and his character is just his character. I think it's been that behind closed doors, in front of cameras, before presidency, after presidency. It's who he is, and he displays a lot of those traits of that. The word is escaping me right now, but he displays some of those traits, and it's on display right now as he's pushing everybody out. Oh, you're against me. You're conspiring against me. He's trying to burn every bridge. He's trying to do as much as he can to not accept the reality of what happened and the reality of how people think about him and who he is. And so it's interesting to watch that play out. I mean, the people spoke with their votes already, but now you have people within his Republican Party who've been speaking out against these election claims. You had people right away, even in the middle of the election, just like, bro, now you got people after the fact like, bro, okay, like we did, you lost every lawsuit, we did the thing, it's over. And it continues to domino, and now most of his staff is resigning. And so again, it might be because we're closer to the inauguration and they all know they want to be on the right side of this, but it's very clear that no matter what you think about Trump, he's doing something that is not acceptable. And so you might praise that because you think we need people to do, you think what's acceptable in politics in the country is the problem, but you have to recognize that what he's doing is outside of what he's supposed to be doing, or at least is what is expected of him. And so, you know, there's the whole talk about him inciting a violence and a riot and egging them on. And look, the thing is, he is not dumb enough to catch himself up that way. Like, yes, he was recorded talking about the votes on Georgia, but he said all the same stuff he said on TV. He didn't go there like, hey, I know I actually lost. I know I'm just making this up, but I need you to find me votes. He didn't do that. He continued the narrative. So it's like either he believes it or he's crazy. Like that's where he puts it at. And then with the rally, he said just enough where you can't say that he told them to go do those things. So I don't see any real avenue for people like holding him accountable for any of that stuff. You know, he's been advised. People are smart enough to know how to avoid that. But still, like I said, going forward, a lot of people have, you know, said they chose the side. And it's interesting to see it kind of come undone as we get to the end of it. But I would say what I said 4 years ago, which has taken on different meaning, but still kind of similar. And that is, when Trump won, I said, I think this might be the best option for America. This might be the best option that we could have got. And I know a lot of people didn't feel that way at the time. A lot of people obviously still don't feel that way, but I do think it has been good. A lot of people want to get back to business as usual, obviously in our normal society, but even before that, a lot of people want to get back to the usual predictable politics and everything. And that's fine. But I think without Trump, it wouldn't have shown people exactly how much that decorum and decency matters. And we wouldn't have realized how ugly this America is. Like, and again, it's not people that know it and live it every day. It's the people that want it to be blind to it. And so people saw I wouldn't say one little, because the presidency is a big thing, but people saw one door, and you see how much ugliness flew through it, and how much ugly and hateful and racism came through that door because they felt that they had license to, whether true or not. And so I always like to be realistic. So I'm not upset. I'm not, people like, oh, I'd rather not have to go through that and all that. But it's what it is. This is our America. This is America. And so Trump was the perfect person, even up to yesterday and probably to the last day, to pull back the curtain and show you what the actual truth is. Now, it wasn't like he's a truth seeker or he came out here to do that, but by his actions, by the type of person that they elected, he showed us those true colors over these last 4 years in many capacities, not just the racial tension and all that. But again, we see a lot of these politicians, they were going to do stuff just because they were part of that political party. They were going to lie. They were going to go along with a narrative. They were going to perpetuate and enable somebody like Trump this whole time just because he was in the same party as them. And that's a commentary on politicians, and it should be a commentary on yourself. Same thing as yesterday. That should be a commentary on yourself. Don't be holier than thou and think it can never be you. Understand that people will choose their own self-interest 9 times out of 10. But also, a person like Trump pushed the boundaries and the limits so far that at least we've been reminded for a lot of us, we still have limits. And so again, it might be a transition away from Trump because we're getting close to the end of his power. Or maybe people realize there are some things that's not worth it. And now that I say it all out loud, and I made this analogy before, but it really plays true, is Trump was the Joker from The Dark Knight. He absolutely is. Like, they wanted to kill Batman, but they didn't want this type of level of madness and mayhem. And they regretted it. And so when it came time, the quote unquote bad guys that let Joker out, they turned on him and tried to, snitch and everything. And that's what I see yesterday. It was like, look, we wanted to win. We wanted power and all that, but not like this, not like this. And so that's where we are today. So that's it. That's my thoughts about the whole thing. We'll see what happens. I think it'll die down. But, those people are out there. Those people that want to make bombs. Those people that want to run into the Capitol. Those people that believe things that have been disproven by every way imaginable. Those people are out there. And we have to live with that reality. So share it around. Get the conversation started. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for going out of bounds.